Moral of the story here is that sometimes you won't fully see how grisly something is in your life until after it's ended or stopped. And that's okay, so long as you make positive strides. What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome to r/self-improvement, where your worst life events are going to lead to you becoming the best person possible. If you're like me and tired of all the negativity out there, then come on in for your dose of Reddit hope and happy. Our first post is from user Bean the Queen. My ex saved my life by dumping me. I want to share this story in hopes of other people benefiting from it. 2 years ago, I dated Ben, fake name. He was a sweet boyfriend and treated me well, but I had a lot of baggage. I entered the relationship when deep down I knew I wasn't ready. I had lots of trust and self-esteem issues from my previous relationship that I hadn't tried to work on at all. But I figured if I was just upfront with him from day one about those problems, it would all be okay. I was so wrong. The thing is, those were my issues to work out, completely unrelated to him. They weren't his to fix or prevent me from hurting anymore or anything. They were on my plate, and I had to take responsibility for them, but I didn't for the entire relationship. We were long distance while at school, and it all went to crap. He made a bunch of new friends, pretty girls included, that made me insecure. He still treated me extremely well, but whenever he'd gush to me about how happy he is with his new friends, I'd get upset. I should have supported him, been happy for him, but I was too scared he'd leave me for them to do that. That's when I started being an awful girlfriend. And the worst part is, I'd just blame it on my issues and never take responsibility. Our relationship didn't last long, and for that I'm grateful. At the time I wasn't, but in retrospect, I know that he deserved better and that if he hadn't left, I wouldn't have changed. Before we broke up, things were horrible. I was so depressed. I hated myself more than ever. I questioned my own life and I had the worst perspective on everything. As he broke up with me, he told me something that has stuck with me ever since. You need to get over yourself. You need to stop victimizing yourself. Go to therapy. You can't be like this. He yelled those words at me angrily, and it took me months to admit to myself that he wasn't a jerk for saying that. He was right. If anything, those words showed that he cared for me like nobody else has. That was all a good 1.5 years ago. Since then, I've found an amazing therapist and I've been working on myself. I've created a great support system of friends and family. I'm finishing up university with the best marks and work ethic I've ever had, and I'm in such a better relationship with myself than I was before. I love myself and how far I've come. I love that I'm getting better. I know it's not done. I'm not healed. It will forever be a process. As for Ben, I talked to him for the first time in 1.5 years just a few days ago. I thanked him for those last words he'd given me, and I told him how much they had helped me so far. He told me that it was a relief. He'd been feeling guilty and thought he might have been too mean by saying what he did, but I assured him that it's what I had to hear. After that, he added me on social media. We aren't really friends, and I'm sure our relationship is a closed and completed book, but I'm happy knowing he doesn't hate me. He's doing really well too, and I'm extremely happy for him. We even shared a joke. It was a very nice moment. I really do owe everything to him. I don't think I would have ever gone looking for help if he hadn't have broken up with me and said that. I'm so grateful. Perspective is a funny thing. When he first broke up with me, everything seemed so bleak. I could have allowed it to just be a mean thing he yelled at me and victimized myself once again, but I didn't. I took it as a sign, a slap in the face, and I'm sure I wouldn't be a better person today if I hadn't. Man, OP, I can very much relate to this. So well. I mean, I've mentioned on the channel before about an abusive ex that I had, and at the time that breakup was terrible because I did genuinely love her, but looking back now, it was the best thing that could have happened. I went out of my way to get more help than I was currently getting then. I grew, and a little over a year after she walked out, I found the woman I would later marry. It's really interesting how some of the worst experiences we can go through in life can lead to the greatest things for us, the greatest opportunities for personal growth, the greatest chances we have to be happy. Just because something sucks right now doesn't mean it's always going to, and you're proof of that. You just have to be willing to do the things that are going to make you a better person in the end. So thank you so much for sharing your story, for being that example that there is hope even when things are going so badly. Wherever you're at, I wish you the best and stay beautiful. Our next post is from user Starshot77. But first, if you're enjoying the video and think someone out there could benefit from the message, feel free to go ahead and share it on social media or directly with them, because the whole point of this channel is to bring a little bit of hope into people's lives, one story at a time. And sharing it with a friend is one of the best ways to further that goal. A tip to remember: hindsight is 20/20, and you sometimes won't recognize an unhealthy behavior until after it stops. An example in my case was a rather extreme and unhealthy addiction to Overwatch. I got into it the summer of 2016 and was pretty well addicted to it. When I was in class in college, all I could think about was how soon I could get home and play it. I spent hundreds of dollars on their loot boxes for those sweet skins. I participated in their holiday events and dedicated upwards of 1,000 plus hours of my life to that game. It was so gratifying to play. However, given how heavy the game relies on teamwork, it can be a bad game if you are highly competitive and queue up for solo games, as I commonly did. And boy, did it bring out the worst in me. I would get violently angry over crap that didn't matter. I would yell very loudly, and I even dented a wall in my house and threw my original PS4 controller against the wall, intentionally breaking it at one point. I took breaks from it, and with the decrease in anger came alleviation of my mood and sleep issues. Whenever it was restarted, it would just come back, no matter what I did. I just couldn't not be a competitive jerk to my teammates, and boy howdy was I a frickin' butthole. This destructive habit ended last fall when I smashed my copy of Overwatch to pieces to ensure I couldn't play it anymore. It was a destructive habit that I never truly saw as destructive until the very end. Moral of the story here is that sometimes you won't fully see how grisly something is in your life until after it's ended or stopped. And that's okay, so long as you make positive strides. I terribly miss Overwatch, but I can't have a healthy relationship with that game. Well, I'm going to say the same thing to you, OP, that I say to all other gamers that have confessions similar to this. A video game in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's when it's taken to excesses and you become too invested in it. I mean, me, for example, I'll admit I had a massive addiction to World of Warcraft when I was originally in college, and up until a couple of years ago when I finally kind of lost interest, ARK, Survival Evolved. I put almost 3,000 hours into that game over the course of 4 years. I don't regret it. I had a lot of fun times with friends and everything else, but at the same time, I know exactly where you're coming from. It was an unhealthy behavior that, for me, thankfully, eventually worked its way out of my life. For you, you had to take a bit more of a drastic approach. And I'm glad you did. Because I think, honestly, you touch on something that is so commonplace in today's world, especially in the world of video gaming, where it is just so toxic because these games take up such an unnaturally unhealthy obsession for people that it brings out the absolute worst in them. I mean, frick. It is just nuts. Being able to step away and not have it be the focus of your life changed you, and I think it can change anyone else who hears this message and is willing to step back. Again, Overwatch in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's the fact that it was taken to an excess that it is. But you've come to that realization, you've taken positive steps to change your life, and I'm so proud of you for doing so. Wherever you're at, I really do wish you the best, and stay beautiful. You can check out more videos in the self-improvement playlist here on your left, or you can see what YouTube thinks is best for you by clicking the button here on the right. Now you guys, stay safe, stay healthy. I will see you all on Wednesday with more wholesome and positive Reddit content. Until then, stay beautiful, people.